Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the latest in our webcast series. We've got a very special guest joining me today. We have Chris Brown, CEO from MangoMap. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Great. We are going to be talking about a brand new function that has been introduced into Global Mapper with the release of version 21. Quick overview of what our agenda is going to cover today. We're going to talk a little bit about what MangoMap is, just to begin. I'm going to hand over to Chris, and he's going to give us the details as to what exactly MangoMap is. I'll take the reins for a while and just talk about that process of taking data from Global Mapper. We'll take an example of a shapefile, maybe throw in some visualization, and we'll simulate the process of actually publishing that onto a MangoMap. I'll hand back over to Chris again, and he'll take a look at the interface. Those of you who have never seen MangoMap, this is kind of your first look and allow you to navigate and look at the functionality that's in there and some of the capabilities that are in there, how you can interact with your data. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you can share that map. And obviously for our Global Mapper audience, this is one of the primary reasons you'll want to be taking a look at this function. It's a remarkably efficient way to share data with your customers, clients, constituents, or even people in your organization or your company. Maybe you're collaborating on a workflow. So we'll talk about some of those sharing options. We'll wrap up by just answering the question, why Mango? Why would we want to take a look at this? Why is this an exciting and useful addition to the Global Mapper functionality? So to begin, as I mentioned, I'm going to hand over to Chris, and Chris is going to give us an overview of exactly what MangoMap is.
Thanks, David, and hello to everybody out there who's watching the video today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a sort of 10,000-foot view about what Mango is and how it can be an asset to your existing business projects and workflows. Okay, so Mango is the simple online GIS. It's the simplest way to share powerful web map applications with anyone, anywhere, and at any time. So what does that mean? Anyone means that MangoMap has been designed to be accessible to anyone, regardless of their technical abilities. So you don't need to be an expert on desktop GIS software to use this. If you have the technical capacity to use Google Maps, your users will be able to use MangoMap anywhere. Mango is browser-based, and it's a web application, which means you can access the interface from any web-enabled device, be it your browser or mobile phones, and at any time. With Mango, the administrator can push new changes to the map or publish new maps 24 hours a day. As soon as the map is published, you can share that map out to end users or stakeholders by email or across social networks or any other communication channels that you have. So what are some of the standout features of Mango? So with Mango, the number one thing is there's no coding involved and it's fully featured. A lot of web mapping platforms out there require you to have the skills of a web developer in order to develop the map applications. With Mango, everything can be done inside the interface with a few clicks. So you don't need to know anything about coding. You don't need to know anything about server hosting. We take care of all of that for you. Mango also allows you to heavily customize that interface for custom workflows. So we have lots of pre-configured tools, such as searching, query tools, print tools, and it's a pick and mix type system. So you can go in and you can say, right, I'd like to add this tool to this map, and I'd like to add this tool, and I don't want tool X, Y, and Z for this map. So each map is completely custom. Mango also allows you to forge long-term ongoing relationships with clients. Often with GIS projects, there's a handover of data sets, and that's where the relationship ends. With a web-based system where you're hosting the data sets and the application on behalf of your client, it gives you the opportunity to forge an ongoing relationship and the opportunity to regularly check in with your clients to see that they're getting the most use out of the web maps. We also integrate with analytics tools for detailed insights. So not only will you be able to hand over web maps to your clients or distribute them internally within your organization, you'll be able to see how many people are actually using that data, how many people are accessing the maps, and when they're accessing the maps, what exactly are they accessing within the map. So if you're a consultant, this is useful because you can make sure that your clients are getting enough usage out of the map. If you see that the maps are being heavily used, it gives you an opportunity to check in with the client, tell them how well everything's going, and see if there's any scope for extending the functionality or extending the scope of the mapping project. If you see that the web maps are quite quiet and not being utilized very often, this also gives you an opportunity to check in and see why maybe they're not getting the most value out of the maps at the moment. Okay, so it definitely allows you to forge those ongoing relationships with clients. It allows you to utilize desktop GIS level analysis tools, but without the complexity. As I said before, all of the tools in Mango have been designed to be as simple as possible. And the expectation is that the end user doesn't need to understand GIS. They only need to have basic web skills in order to be able to get value from maps that have been deployed using Mango. And on a final note, as this we're with Global Mapper here, and Global Mapper is famous for the amount of file format support. We support all major spatial file formats. So when you're creating maps in Mango, you can use shape files, file GDBs, rasters, KML. All of the most popular formats are supported by Mango. So a little bit of the history of Mango. We launched in 2013. We have customers around the world. I think at the last count, it was 115 countries. We've had over 100,000 maps published on the platform. And we've also had over 200,000 data sets published with Mango. These numbers are going up every day, and we hope to see you guys on the platform soon, adding to the map published numbers and adding to these data sets and getting value from our system. We're used by companies and organizations of all sizes around the world. Here are some logos of GIS companies around Europe and North America that are currently utilizing Mango. And this is just a small section of our client base. And let's take a look at pricing. We haven't really looked at the functionality yet, but I know that a question I always have whenever I'm looking at tools and I'd like to know is, what's the price point for a tool like this? We have three plans. The most common plan used by our clients is the enterprise plan, which is $1,910 per year. One of the things we pride ourselves on at Mango is giving our customers the ability to know exactly what the tool is going to cost. Some of our competitors in the WebGIS space use credit-based systems where it's very difficult to predict what the cost of the system will be today and also in the future. So with Mango, we have fixed pricing. We're going to look at what's available on the different plans a little bit later in the presentation today. So just to wrap up, why Mango? Okay, so Mango enables longer-term relationships with your clients. It's ideal for map-based workflows and project management for remote teams. It's simple and effective multi-platform map sharing. The maps can be accessed in any browser, any mobile device, tablets, phones, Android, iOS, you name it. The Mango Maps will work. It's easy to understand for non-GIS users. We've removed all of the GIS jargon, all of the unnecessary complexity, and we've distilled the interface down into something that anybody can use. It encourages inter-organization workflow collaboration. So it's great for departments within a single organization. For example, city planning can make a data collection app that they can share to field staff who can collect, say, pothole data from roads. And we now have, and this is the subject of today's video, seamless integration with Global Mapper. So what that means is with the new integration, you can create a map or take one of the maps that you've already created inside Global Mapper, and with a single click, you can publish that map across to Mango, complete with all of the styling and all of the attribute data. Okay, so that's the end of the presentation now. I'm going to hand back over to David now.
Thanks, Chris. Just kind of reiterating something Chris mentioned at the end, his last bullet there, the integration with Global Mapper. It is worthwhile noting that this is a function that we know we've needed for some time. A lot of our users have asked us over the years about the availability of a web publishing tool, and certainly not something we had the wherewithal to integrate ourselves into the application. So our relationship with Mango really has filled a very significant void, this data sharing tool that's online. So very exciting to have this as part of the Global Mapper setup. So with that, what I'm going to do very briefly here, and we know most of you are familiar with Global Mapper, so I'm not going to spend a great deal of time, but we're going to bring up the application itself, and we're going to simulate the process. Basically, we're going to start with a shapefile. We'll do a little bit of data manipulation in the application itself, and we're going to throw that up to Mango. We're going to pretend to throw it up to Mango. We're going to take a look at initially the process you would typically go through to publish that data, and then I'm going to hand back over to Chris again, and he's going to take it from there. He's going to take that data and show us what we can do with that in the Mango interface and give us a little bit of a guided tour. So to begin this, again, very basic, I'm just going to drag from off screen. I'm going to drag a parcels layer. We're going to drop it on the screen here. This is obviously data that similar to what you may have seen before, just a shapefile. A couple of things we're going to do here very quickly, to kind of give us an idea of a typical process, if you like. We're going to change the visualization of my parcels. Right now, given that they're a shapefile, they import it as this generic single pixel black outline polygon layer. I'm going to change that. I'm going to do it at the layer level, just simply double clicking. I'm going to go to my area styles. I'm going to apply the styling consistently, a solid border style. Let's make it an orange color. We'll click OK, and a little bit wider. We'll go up to 2 pixels to make them jump out a little bit more on our screen here. So just quick data visualization, zooming in just a little here. We're dealing with some streaming data behind the scenes here, so that's why it's taking a little bit of time to reload. And just to verify, I mean, this is, again, a standard parcels there. I'm going to grab my info tool from the toolbar and just grab a parcel, and you'll see, oops, I grabbed a pixel instead of a parcel. Let's try that again. There we go. And you've got all the attributes here. So this is our base data residing within Global Mapper. And in the real world, it may be something we'd created in Global Mapper. We may have done a lot of the digitizing work. We may have done the data joining to bring that attribute table in. We may have done a lot of the initial work. Now we need to get this out onto a platform that can be accessed by our constituents or our colleagues or whomever, and that's where Mango comes to play. So the new component in Global Mapper that if you're using Global Mapper 21, you may already have noticed is this little toolbar at the end, a little Mango button right here on the toolbar. Now, the action that you would initiate to start with is simply clicking on that button. As a new user, you're going to be given the prompts to register, to set up initially a trial account. We have a 2-week trial, and I do encourage you, if you want to take a look at this, go through the trial process, kick the tires, see how it works. There's no obligation. You can publish a map and you can see how it looks, share it with some of your colleagues and see how that interface works for them. And then you can decide if it's something you want to invest in yourself. And again, going back to some of the subscription options, the tiers that Chris mentioned, you can take a look at what would be most applicable. Now, in my case, I've already set up a subscription. We actually have a trial one that we use internally. You can see it's a demo account. So I've bypassed the initial setup. But if you were using this for the first time, you would have to log in. You would use your Blue Marble login. If you've logged into the Blue Marble website, which you will have if you purchase the software, you would then use that to log in, create your Mango account, request a trial, and it's a single click thereafter. Now, I'm not actually going to click the OK in the interest of time in this situation, but if I were simply publishing this map, I would click the OK button. It would upload it to my account, and it would be available for me in the Mango interface. One thing I will point out here before I close the window is the help. It's worthwhile if you want to take a look at some of the capabilities in terms of the setup. From off screen, I'll drag this onto my interface. We have a section of our help now dealing with Mango, how to set up your account, all of the necessary steps. So probably a good first step if you want to set up the trial is to take a look at this setup procedure. So that help is contextual. We'll pop up the appropriate section of our help doc right from within this dialog box. So again, pretending I'm going to click the OK button, we'll click OK, and we'll hand back over to Chris.
Okay, thank you, David. What we're going to do now is we're going to show you one we made earlier. So the usual process will be that from Global Mapper, you'll press the export button. Your data and styling will be imported to Mango, and you'll be able to view the map straight away. By default, Mango has most features and most tools turned off because our main aim is simplicity. So the next step, you would enter into Mango, into the administration interface, and you would decide what tools you'd like to activate on the map. And you can also do things like add your logo and change the colors to match the branding of your organization. So before we look at the features in depth, let's just take a look at a common workflow for a parcel map. So here's the parcel map for Orange County, North Carolina. And a common workflow would be to look up a parcel based on its PID or identity number in order to get information about the owner and possibly tax record. So let's take a look at what that workflow would look like. So I've entered the map now, and straight away in the bottom right corner, by default, we have a search box open. And this has been customized to match this workflow. So it's prompting me to enter the PIN number for a property. So I have a PIN number here. So let's type it in, 98852334774. We could have also added the deed reference number, but we'll just use the PIN for this particular map. Let's press go and find that property. Okay, so here we go. Here's the property with that reference number. As you can see, the parcel's being highlighted. I can also click on that individual parcel and I can get information about the parcel. All of the information that you see in the pop-up box on the left here has come from the attribute table in the shapefile that David uploaded. So we can see this is owned by one Billy W. Johnson. We can see the property size. It's an acre block. We've got some information about the land value and the building value. These pop-up boxes that you see in Mango, they can be customized to include images, videos, charts, graphs, links to other sites. So this could be a link to the deeds record on the local government website. For within this box, we can also do some other things. We can add this as a bookmark. So if we have particular features on the map that we like to come back to a lot, we can bookmark it and it will be available for us in our bookmarking tool over here on the right-hand panel. We also have the share feature. So for example, I might be looking for a specific property in here and I need to share it with one of my colleagues. I can just hit the share button and it gives me options for sharing via email or even social networks, which can be configured from within the app. So we've highlighted this property now, the property of Mr. Billy Johnson. So what else? Let's look at some other things that we can do on the map. At the moment, when we uploaded the map, David uploaded it, we just had the parcel record, but we can upload multiple layers on the map and stack them just like we would in a regular GIS. So you can create those layers within Global Mapper, hit export and add them here. So we've got one other layer here, which is the building footprints. And as we can see, we've turned that on and we now have the building footprint data right here. One of the other things that we can do is we can use Google Street View. So if we want to go back to the property and see what it looks like on the ground, we can turn on Street View. We can position the cursor and hit the Launch Street View button. And now here we are. We can take a look at the property. A nice, well-kept street in North Carolina. Okay, there are lots of features that you can add to Mango. We have query tools, search tools, printing tools, and some more complex searching and query features such as proximity analysis. So in other maps that might have more complex requirements for queries, you could do things, for example, show me all of the properties that were within 500 meters of last year's maximum flood extent and things like this. So queries that you would usually have to use desktop GIS for, you can build them into Mango and you can make the interface in a very simple and intuitive way that would allow anybody to use those features. We also have print tools. So once we've created a map that we'd like to share with our colleagues, we can make a print view here. We've got some settings about what we would like to show. So maybe we don't want to show the pop-up. And once we're ready with the print, we just hit the print button and it will give us the possibility to either export that to a PDF or print it right on our printer. Okay, so that's the print feature there. Let's shut it down. So there are lots and lots of tools that you can add to Mango and way too much to cover within today's video. I'm hoping just to give you a snapshot of what's possible within the map. But one thing with web mapping that's a best practice is to keep each of your individual maps focused on a specific workflow. What we're used to with using desktop GIS is having one map that does it all. So when we open a desktop GIS, we're greeted with hundreds of small buttons, possibly dozens and dozens of layers. Usually this kind of setup is too complex for a web map and it's going to be too complex for your regular user. So what we encourage users to do with Mango is to make lots of small focused maps. So what you can do is, this is the map for parcel lookup. You can make a site that actually has a map portal where we have many maps that are focused on different things. So let's take a little look at that now. So you can see we have two tabs at the top here. We have maps and data. If we click on maps, it will take us to the map portal. And as you can see, we have 7 maps in here for this particular county, and each one of them is focused on either a particular group of data sets or a particular task or workflow. So we've got fire districts, we've got watershed data, voting locations, police response map, and we've got zoning map. So each of those maps would be useful to different people. In addition to that, we also have this data tab here. So what Mango also allows you to do is you can share your data with other users. So you can some data sets may be public data sets that are open that you would like to be able to share with everybody who visits the portal. So this is often common with local government. And then what this will allow is your end users to come in here and get the latest version of a particular data set and use it within their own desktop GIS. Now, Mango also has the possibility to create users and groups. So what we can do with all of these maps and data sets is we can decide exactly who has access to them and what they can do. So in some cases, such as a county web mapping system, maybe all of the maps and all of the data sets will be public. But if we're using it for a private company or project work, maybe we'd like to close everything off. So what is possible to do in Mango is to create users and groups and only give access to specific maps and specific data sets to users and groups that have specific permissions. David, did you have any questions about how the maps work or any of the functionality?
Well, one thing that we've kind of encountered ourselves just in dealing with parcels in general and in dealing with some of our municipal customers is this idea of they're dynamic. They constantly update. So I guess a question might be, I mean, we saw how the initial publishing process worked. I simulated the process, simply click that button, it's up there. What if your data changes? What if in Global Mapper there's an updated parcel record, maybe reevaluation, properties of new values? How would that process work, and how would it affect the map that maybe the constituents are able to see?
Yeah, so there's lots of mechanisms to update the map. So we have a feature that we call the re-upload feature. So one mechanism would be to publish the map again using Global Mapper. Another mechanism would be to use the Mango administration interface and do what we call a data re-upload. So for example, this map that we're looking at now is using that parcel data set. What would happen is we could re-upload a new version of that data set, and the map would update the underlying data, but all of the interface and all of the tools would remain the same. So there's no need to build the map from scratch again. You can just upload those new data sets. Now, some of you might have a use case where you have a data set that's frequently updated. Maybe it happens dozens of times a day based on queries coming from outside databases or field data collection. In that case, we have a synchronization tool that works with the popular file sharing platform, Dropbox. With the Dropbox integration, what you can do is anytime a new or updated data set, say a shapefile, is dropped into a Dropbox enabled folder on your computer or server, Mango will be able to detect that, and it will fetch the new data set and automatically add it to Mango. We've got lots of customers who are using that in use cases where it's not feasible for a person to go in and make those updates because those updates are so frequent.
Yeah, that sounds like an ideal workflow for some of our Global Mapper users, that seamless and fairly automated process. So, Chris, one other question, kind of as I mentioned, one of the appealing aspects of this for our Global Mapper users is obviously the ability to share data, and kind of two ways of doing that. One would be obviously with the public. In this case, our parcel records may be something that's openly accessible to anybody who visits the Orange County website, or sharing this with a closed audience, perhaps as people in another government department who need access to data that's maybe not in the public domain. Can you talk a little bit about how that sharing process works and how it can be set up?
Yeah, the sharing process is super simple. So once you've created a map inside Mango within the administration interface, by default, that map is private, and so are all of its data sets. So none of your maps and data will be automatically shared. You have to enable sharing. So with the map that we're looking at the moment, it's been enabled to be shared publicly. But one of the options you have there is to share it privately through users and groups. So what you would do, say, for example, you worked for a local municipality and you had some sensitive data sets that you only wanted to share, for example, with, say, road repair crews, for example. What you would be able to do is create a new user inside Mango for each one of the team members on the road repair crew. And then you could give them access to a specific map. And then what would happen is when they log into Mango and they sign into their account, they would be greeted immediately by each of the maps that they've been given access to. And then in the same way, you can revoke access later. Now, we also use a groups feature. So some of you may have lots and lots of users inside your organization. Maybe you need to share it with 50 or 100 people. So we have some tools to make that process seamless. So what we do there is we control access rights by groups. So you could create 100 new users and you could add them to a group, say, called engineers. And then with a particular map, you could say this map is available to engineers. So this gives you fine-grained control over who has access to your maps and data at any time, and also allows you to easily change those access rights at any time in the future.
So you're basically talking about admin tools. Somebody can be assigned as the admin to control all of these permissions, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So by default, a Mango account comes with one administrative user, and the administrative user can create maps, add data sets, and then you can grow out from that initial user and add additional users into the account. We actually have 3 levels of user at Mango. So the top level is the administrator, so they can do anything on the map. The next level is what we call a data editor. So these are users who can view maps and also can edit specific data sets. So they could go in and maybe update attribute information, change geometry information where applicable. And then the final type of user we call a private viewer. So a private viewer will be given access to view maps or view data sets, but they can't in any way make any edits or changes to anything that's displayed.
Okay, excellent. Just one more question for somebody who's visiting the site, maybe not an admin. Is there help available? Interface components? Is there a help system?
Yeah, we do have a help system. So in the it's not actually activated for this particular site here, but there's a help window on the bottom with a chat system that you can go into in order to get help from one of our support staff. And we also have detailed documentation for all of the tools that are available on Mango. And something that a lot of our users like to do, because a lot of the maps are customized for their specific use cases, they like to produce their own small help documentation to explain how to use the individual map. And we have panels, which are extra tools that you can enable within Mango, which can contain your own customized documentation for the particular map.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, the entire workflow, very simple, very seamless from Global Mapper. Interface in Mango is very, very simple to operate as well, very intuitive. So I think it's a perfect match, Global Mapper to Mango. And just to remind people, something we mentioned before, I mean, if you're using Global Mapper 21 or a newer version, if you're watching this a little bit further down the road, you will have access to a free trial. So you might as well just put this through its paces and see how simple it is. So thank you very much, Chris. That was excellent.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so kind of wrapping up here and reiterating some of the bullets that Chris had introduced during his introduction to Mango earlier. Why Mango? A worthwhile question answering from the perspective of Global Mapper users now that we've seen how it works and we've seen how simple that interface is. As I mentioned, this is a simple and effective multi-platform map sharing tool. That's something, as I mentioned before, that we've been yearning for in Global Mapper. Some way to share data, doesn't require specific platforms, not file specific. It's a web map tool. So this is the primary reason why Global Mapper users will be interested in this. It's really easy to understand. Chris gave us a quick demo of interacting with some parcel data. You don't have to be a GIS user to understand what he did. Very simple, very, very straightforward interface and very simple to navigate. Within an organization, if you're looking at sharing corporate data, having those admin set up, having those permissions, being able to deploy data and assigning editing capabilities and assigning access capabilities within an organization turns Mango into a collaboration tool. So very useful in that context as well. And obviously it's now seamlessly integrated with Global Mapper. You saw the button there in the interface, the toolbar interface of Global Mapper. If you've been using Global Mapper for a while, it's a new button right there. Simply click the button and you're directly accessing your MangoMap online. So nothing could be simpler. All that's left for me to say is if you want some more information here, you've got our website, bluemarblegeo.com, a little bit of a long URL. If you navigate to our website, go to the product section area. I think it's under the global mapper section of our website. You'll see a Mango link right there. Get a little more information there. If you have specific questions, maybe you want some more information about the subscription options, you can email sales@bluemarblegeo.com, and my colleagues will be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Chris, thank you very much for taking the time to enlighten us on that remarkable web mapping platform you have.
Yeah, thanks for having me, David.
And we will talk to you on our next Global Mapper webcast.